Why do humans get so scared of disease? Not just uncomfortable, not just careful, but deeply scared. For thousands of years, disease has made people panic, isolate, flee, pray, and even turn against one another. This is the strange story of why illness triggers one of the strongest fears in the human mind. Why do humans get so scared of disease? It is a simple question, but the answer reaches deep into human history, biology, psychology, and survival. Disease is not just something that makes the body weak. It is something that threatens the body, the mind, the family, the community, and sometimes even the future of a whole society. That is why disease has always carried a special kind of fear. Not every danger works the same way. A wild animal is frightening because it can attack. A fire is frightening because it can burn. A storm is frightening because it can destroy. But disease is different. Disease is invisible. Disease can spread quietly. Disease can hide inside a body before anyone notices. Disease can move from one person to another without warning. Disease can begin as a small problem and become a catastrophe. That invisible nature is one of the main reasons humans fear disease so deeply. When you can see danger, you can prepare. When you cannot see it, your mind begins to imagine the worst. And the human brain hates uncertainty. Ancient humans lived in a world full of uncertainty, and disease was one of the worst forms of it. They could not see germs. They did not know about viruses or bacteria. They often did not understand why one person got sick and another did not. They did not know why sickness spread through a camp, a village, or a family. That made disease feel mysterious, and mystery often becomes fear. If a person became ill after eating a certain food, touching a sick relative, visiting a place, or sleeping in the same shelter, the cause may have seemed magical, cursed, spiritual, or contagious in ways they could not explain. So the fear of disease was not only physical, it was psychological, it was social, it was spiritual, it was practical. It touched every part of life. One of the strongest reasons humans fear disease is because disease attacks the body from the inside. A predator attacks from the outside. Disease works from within. That makes it feel more personal, more intimate, more frightening. When someone is sick, the body changes. Strength fades. Breathing may change. Appetite disappears. Pain appears. Energy drops. The face changes. The voice changes. Sometimes the person changes so much that loved ones can hardly recognize them. That transformation is unsettling. Humans are very sensitive to signs of bodily change. We notice pale skin. We notice coughing. We notice fever. We notice weakness. We notice unusual behavior. That sensitivity exists for a reason. Long before medicine, noticing sickness early could help people survive. It could help them avoid infection. It could help them protect children. It could help them isolate the sick. It could help them prepare for loss. So the fear of disease is partly an ancient survival alarm. The body says, pay attention, and the mind hears that alarm and turns it into fear. Disease also frightens us because it can spread. A wound affects one person. A disease can affect many. That makes disease not only a personal threat, but a group threat. In small ancient communities, one illness could weaken the entire group. If a hunter became sick, food supply could be affected. If a healer became sick, care could disappear. If a mother became sick, children could suffer. If several people became sick at once, the whole group could collapse. That meant disease was never only about the individual, it was about survival of the community. And when the whole community is at risk, fear becomes stronger. This is why people often react to disease with strong social behavior: distance, avoidance, cleaning, ritual, blame, panic, and sometimes denial. These reactions are not random. They are part of an ancient defensive system. Humans evolved to protect themselves from threats they cannot fully understand. One part of that system is disgust. Disgust is closely connected to disease fear. We often think of disgust as a feeling about something unpleasant, but biologically, disgust is a defense. It helps humans avoid contamination. Bad smell, rotting food, bodily fluids, decaying bodies, filthy water, and visible infection can all trigger disgust because the brain reads them as possible sources of disease. This is why many people instinctively react strongly to things that may carry infection. The body is trying to protect itself before the mind has time to explain. Disgust and fear work together. Disgust says, stay away. Fear says, this could hurt you. Together, they create one of the strongest emotions emotional responses in human life. Ancient humans likely felt this very strongly because they lived much closer to raw physical reality. There was no antiseptic environment, no modern sanitation, no antibiotics, no hospitals with controlled conditions, no clear understanding of invisible infection. A sick body could smell, weaken, and sometimes die quickly. That made disease feel immediate and dangerous. Over time, this fear-shaped behavior. People created rituals of cleansing. People separated the sick from the healthy. People avoided certain bodies, places, or objects. People washed when they could. People used smoke, herbs, or prayer. People built stories around sickness. In many cultures, disease was not just a medical event, it was a social event. It affected group trust. It affected belief. It affected leadership. It affected burial. It affected food sharing. It affected movement. It affected the relationship between people and the unseen world. That last part is important. Before modern science, disease was often interpreted as something more than biology. It could be seen as punishment. It could be seen as spiritual imbalance. It could be seen as a curse. It could be seen as a sign of broken harmony. It could be seen as bad luck or divine anger. Why? Because humans always try to explain suffering. When something painful happens repeatedly and unpredictably, the mind looks for meaning. If no visible cause can be found, invisible causes begin to appear. This is one reason fear around disease often becomes stronger than fear around other dangers. A tiger may kill. A disease may seem to judge. That difference matters emotionally. Disease can make people feel helpless, and helplessness is terrifying. If a person can fight, they feel some control. If a person can run, they feel some control. If a person can hide, they feel some control. But disease can enter the body without permission. It can affect children, elders, the strong, and the weak. It can appear in communities that did nothing wrong. It can hit suddenly. It can linger for days, months, or years. That sense of helplessness is one of the deepest roots of fear. Humans do not only fear pain, they fear the loss of control over pain. Disease threatens control. It can stop work. It can stop travel. It can stop hunting. It can stop caring for family. It can stop language, memory, and identity in severe cases. When the body begins to fail, the self feels threatened. That is why illness can feel so emotionally heavy. Another reason humans fear disease is because it reminds us of mortality. A small fever can make a person think about death. A dangerous illness can make a family think about losing someone. A spreading outbreak can make a whole society think about collapse. Disease is one of the clearest reminders that life is fragile. It reminds us that the human body is not permanent. It can break, it can age, it can weaken, it can fail. This is uncomfortable for the human mind. We like to believe we are stable. We like to believe tomorrow will be normal. We like to believe life will continue as expected. Disease interrupts that illusion. That is why people often overreact to it, even when they know the rational risk may be small. Fear is not always rational. Fear is protective. It evolved to keep people alive, not to keep them calm. There is also a social side to disease fear. When illness appears, people often ask, who brought it? Where did it come from? Who is responsible? This is because human groups try to assign meaning and blame to danger. Blame can create a feeling of order. Even if the order is false, it can feel better than uncertainty. Ancient communities may have blamed strangers, outsiders, enemies, spirits, or individuals who broke social rules. This was not always cruelty for its own sake. Sometimes it was an attempt to make sense of suffering. If you believe disease has a cause you can identify, then you can try to control it. But this can also create fear of other people. That is one of the darkest effects of disease. It can divide communities. It can create suspicion. It can turn neighbors into threats. It can make people fear contact, touch, and closeness. And yet humans need closeness to survive. That is why disease fear creates such a painful contradiction. We need each other, but we fear what we might catch from each other. This tension is ancient, and it still lives inside us. Even today, people react strongly to outbreaks. Even today, a sick person may be avoided. Even today, whole societies societies can become anxious when illness spreads. That is because the old survival system remains active. The brain still reacts to contamination. The brain still reacts to uncertainty. The brain still reacts to signs of bodily breakdown. This is why disease can trigger fear faster than logic. The body often speaks first. Another reason disease scares humans is because it can affect children. Nothing activates human fear more strongly than the possibility of a child becoming sick. For ancestral humans, children represented the future. If children died, the group lost not only a life, but tomorrow. Disease that harms children is especially terrifying because it strikes the most vulnerable and the most valuable. This emotional power is one reason sickness became surrounded by protective practices in many ancient cultures. People prayed for children. People used amulets. People watched over sleeping infants. People used herbs and smoke and rituals. People created taboos around sick individuals and sacred healing spaces. All of this was part of the effort to push back against a danger they could not fully see. Disease also scares us because it disrupts the ordinary order of life. When people are healthy, life feels stable. They work, they eat, they move, they make plans. When disease enters, everything changes. Schedules collapse. Homes become tense. Routines disappear. People worry about the future. They worry about medicine. They worry about survival. They worry about other family members. That disruption itself becomes frightening. In many ways, humans fear disease because disease threatens continuity. It says life is not guaranteed to continue as planned. And that message cuts deeply. But not all responses to disease were fear alone. Humans also responded with care. This is an important part of the story. The same disease that creates fear can also create compassion. Sickness can bring people together. It can inspire caregiving. It can awaken duty. It can reveal loyalty. It can show which communities are strong enough to protect the vulnerable. In that sense, disease is not only a source of fear, it is also a test of humanity. Ancient people who cared for the sick were doing more than being kind. They were building social survival. A community that cares for the sick is a community that may survive longer. A community that abandons the sick may survive short-term fear, but lose trust over time. So, disease fear and disease care often coexist. Fear says, be careful. Care says, do not abandon one another. That tension is one of the most human things imaginable. As human beings evolved, our fear of disease probably became sharper because it was useful. Those who noticed contamination early may have avoided infection. Those who isolated sick individuals may have protected the group. Those who remembered dangerous seasons or places may have survived better. Those who respected warning signs may have lived longer. Fear can be unpleasant, but it can also save lives. That is why the fear of disease never disappeared. It was selected, reinforced, remembered, and passed on. In modern times, we may explain disease scientifically. We may understand germs, immunity, transmission, hygiene, and treatment far better than ancient people did. But the emotional reaction remains ancient. We still fear outbreaks. We still worry about invisible infection. We still feel uneasy around coughing, fever, and contagion. We still protect ourselves through distance and cleanliness. We still create rules, systems, and responses when illness spreads. The tools have changed. The feeling has not. And maybe that is the real answer. Humans are scared of disease because disease touches everything that matters to us. Our bodies, our families, our communities, our future, our sense of control, our sense of safety, our sense of life itself. Disease is frightening because it is invisible, contagious, unpredictable, and intimate. It can weaken the body, disrupt society, and remind us that we are mortal. But disease also reveals something else. It reveals how deeply human beings are wired to protect life. It reveals how much we value health. It reveals how much we fear loss. It reveals how much we need one another. It reveals that fear and care are often born from the same place. So, why do humans get so scared of disease? Because disease is not just sickness. It is uncertainty. It is vulnerability. It is contamination. It is social risk. It is mortality. It is the possibility that the body, the group, and the future may all be changed at once. And that is why disease has always frightened human beings so deeply.